When two hearts recognize each other but refuse to speak, fear becomes the language love whispers in. Love doesn't always announce itself with clarity or confidence. Sometimes it enters your world sideways, quietly, like morning fog rolling across a still lake. You feel it before you understand it. A presence that settles into the spaces between your thoughts, inhabiting moments you didn't realize were empty until someone filled them. This isn't the explosive passion of romance novels or the cinematic declarations you've watched on screen. This is something more tender and terrifying. It exists in the way your pulse quickens when their name appears on your phone, in how their laughter creates an echo in your chest long after silence returns, in the careful way you both dance around words that feel too honest, too revealing. What you're experiencing lives in the realm of the unspoken, those moments when conversation halts, because saying more would expose everything, when hands almost touch but don't, when eyes meet and linger just long enough to communicate what mouths refuse to confess. There's an invisible agreement operating beneath the surface, a mutual understanding that acknowledging what exists between you might shatter its fragile beauty, yet the connection persists, undeniable and unmistakable. You can't rationalize why this person occupies so much mental real estate, why their mood affects yours like weather systems colliding, why a simple message from them can alter the entire trajectory of your day. There's a gravitational pull here that defies explanation, stronger than circumstance, deeper than casual friendship. The heart knows before the mind admits what it refuses to name. Neither of you speaks what burns beneath the surface, yet every interaction carries weight. Every shared moment hums with unvoiced meaning. Every silence between you feels pregnant with possibility. It's bewildering and beautiful in equal measure, how something that hasn't formally begun can feel more real than relationships that have been formally declared. You find yourself wondering, how can something feel so profound when nothing has technically happened? Why does every exchange replay endlessly in your thoughts? Why do their preferences, their struggles, their small victories matter more than logic suggests they should? The truth is uncomfortable yet gentle. You're not frightened of each other. You're frightened of what loving each other authentically would require, what it might cost, what transformations it would demand, what hidden parts of yourselves it might illuminate before you're ready to see them. What follows are two unmistakable indicators that love already exists between you, even though fear stands guard at the threshold, asking you both to wait a little longer. The first indicator reveals itself in the microscopic attention you pay to each other, how trivial details about them embed themselves in your memory without effort, how their emotional state ripples through your own in ways you never anticipated. The second indicator appears in the frequency with which you catch yourself constructing futures together, imagining shared tomorrows you're too cautious to verbalize, yet cannot stop envisioning in quiet moments. Both indicators point toward one inescapable reality. Love already lives between you, and the fear you experience is simply love, searching for a pathway through the protective walls you've constructed. Welcome everyone to Echo of Souls. Make sure you subscribe, activate notifications, and select all alerts, because every piece of content we create has the potential to transform your perspective, challenge your assumptions about connection, and remind you that the most meaningful bonds often announce themselves not with fireworks, but with whispers. They arrive softly, persistently, gradually, until one day you realize your heart recognized something your mind was too afraid to acknowledge. Love doesn't always shout, but when it whispers, it speaks the deepest truth. Sign 1. You both retreat when everything aligns perfectly. There are crystalline moments when the universe seems to conspire in your favor. Conversation flows like water finding its natural course. Silences feel nourishing instead of uncomfortable. The energy circulating between you carries warmth, recognition, and depth. And yet, nothing transpires, no vulnerable admissions surface, no courageous moves are executed, no boundaries are crossed. Not because feeling is absent, but because it's too authentic, too significant to risk through careless action. Surface-level attraction generates impulsive behavior. People act without contemplating consequences. But when love begins developing roots, everything transforms. Words acquire gravity. Actions feel permanent. A single misjudgment seems capable of destroying the delicate ecosystem you're both nurturing. In these instances, both of you decelerate. Every text, message gets composed, deleted, and recomposed. Every phrase is weighed against possible outcomes. You mentally review conversations, obsessively dissecting tone, timing, and hidden meaning. You prevent yourself from expressing what your heart already comprehends, not from absence of desire, but from profound need to safeguard this fragile connection. Fear conceals itself within the quiet. It's not fear of loving, it's fear of losing, of exposing your vulnerability, only to find yourself unchosen, unclaimed. It's the terror of opening a door that might never close properly again. So rather than risking everything through one spontaneous gesture, you select careful restraint, patience masquerading as emotional distance. They mirror this cautiousness, establishing an unspoken rhythm of mutual protection that feels simultaneously intense and undefined. The hesitation itself, the deliberate holding back, reveals everything. If genuine love and budding devotion were absent, this anxiety wouldn't exist. You would communicate freely, act without concern, care significantly less. The very fact that you're overthinking, that you're measuring every action against the survival of your bond, proves something profound is at stake. Both of you stand at the edge of an invisible cliff, magnetically drawn toward each other, yet silently waiting for the other to bridge the gap first. The magnetism is undeniable. The connection is palpable. The unspoken tension hovers between you like electricity, alive, crackling, impossible to ignore even when language fails. Sign 2. You manufacture separation but cannot sever the connection. This represents perhaps the most paradoxical and confusing indicator of all. You don't pursue each other aggressively. You don't demand constant attention or reassurance. Sometimes you deliberately create space, testing boundaries or seeking mental clarity, yet neither disappears. Regardless of time elapsed, regardless of communication gaps, regardless of how logically moving forward might make sense, you remain bound, invisibly yet undeniably. Distance doesn't diminish this bond, it illuminates it. If feelings were superficial or temporary, the separation would have erased them completely. Instead, they persist, resurfacing during quiet moments, inhabiting the edges of consciousness, astonishing you with their stubborn endurance. Even when interaction becomes sparse, when days or weeks pass without meaningful contact, the emotional thread remains intact. You might temporarily convince yourself that nothing significant exists here, yet truth contradicts logic. Feelings remain alive, quietly occupying mental space, emerging unexpectedly when defenses lower, when you're caught off guard by a song, a scent, a random memory. This parallel longing, silent, unspoken, patient, defines the bond's depth. People who genuinely care sometimes withdraw when love feels overwhelming. Distance becomes a survival mechanism, a method to regain control over emotions too intense for direct confrontation. They do the same. You both engineer space, yet hearts refuse to abandon what they recognize as meaningful. You miss each other quietly. You care invisibly. You hope privately, tethered by a connection that refuses to dissolve under pressure, under logic, under time's relentless forward motion. This isn't emotional immaturity. This is emotional overwhelm, the quiet, steadfast loyalty that persists even when circumstances enforce separation. You don't emotionally replace each other. You might attempt it, talking to others, creating distractions, filling calendars with activity, even convincing yourself temporarily that you're fine. But beneath the surface, comparison lingers. Every interaction, every casual conversation, every fleeting encounter gets measured against the presence that once mattered most. Thoughts drift toward them during unexpected moments. You wonder about their days, their struggles, their small joys, whether they think of you too, whether they feel this same quiet ache. This attachment isn't born from confusion or desperation. It's born from love, waiting patiently, quietly, powerfully for courage to finally arrive. Unspoken love carries a weight that expressed love rarely does. Its heaviness stems from incompletion, from what remains unsaid and unexplored, unresolved. There's no closure, no tidy narrative to comfort the heart. Instead, it rests quietly in your chest, pulsing gently yet insistently, a reminder that certain feelings refuse to be ignored. You notice it during late-night thoughts, in songs that suddenly pierce deeper than they should, in moments when absence becomes tangible and you ache to fill that void. This love teaches patience, certainly, but it also tests bravery. It asks not for reckless action, but for honesty. Honesty with yourself about what you genuinely feel and why you're hesitating. Ask yourself gently, am I afraid of loving them, or am I afraid of what that love might demand from me? Am I waiting for certainty, for permission, for some external validation? If nothing changed, would I regret staying silent? Sometimes love doesn't require immediate action, yet it demands awareness. When two hearts hesitate, when both are held captive by fear, time doesn't erase what exists between them. It only determines who will speak first, who will carry the quiet ache of what might have been. Awareness, clarity, and reflection become essential instruments for navigating the invisible weight of unspoken connection. If you're absorbing this slowly, feeling it resonate, remember the final truth. If both of you felt indifferent, there would be clarity. Confusion, tension, hesitation, these exist only where love is present yet restrained, acknowledged yet unexpressed. When a connection feels deep but undefined, safe yet terrifying, calm yet emotionally intense, it's not imagined, it's real. You're both afraid yet already in love, standing on opposite sides of the same unspoken truth. Courage hasn't yet found its voice. Fear hasn't yet been quieted. But the bond, the quiet, unwavering bond, is undeniable, waiting for someone to bridge the chasm between longing and expression. This kind of love, the quiet, patient, nearly invisible love, represents one of the most intense and paradoxical experiences available to human hearts. It doesn't shout. It doesn't demand attention or grand gestures to validate its existence. Instead, it inhabits the corners of your consciousness, the spaces between daily interactions, the tiny, almost imperceptible ways you notice them even when they're absent. You feel it in subtle rhythms, the way your chest tightens when their name surfaces in conversation, the way a particular melody can suddenly pierce you because it carries their echo, the way moments feel incomplete without their presence casting its particular light. It's heavy, not because it's burdensome, but because it's profoundly real, and real things require courage to fully embrace, to claim, to honor. When two people share this kind of connection, it creates a strange duality. On one hand, there's warmth, familiarity, comfort, as if the other person exists in your life as a constant, unshakable truth, a given. On the other hand, there's restraint, fear, the careful measurement of words and actions, the perpetual editing of impulses. You hold back because love feels too fragile to risk recklessly, too precious to gamble carelessly. Every glance, every word, every silence carries significance, consequence. The stakes feel enormous because what's at risk isn't just momentary rejection. It's the potential loss of something rare, irreplaceable, singular. Emotional overwhelm, in this context, isn't a flaw or weakness. It's a signal of depth, of value recognized. It shows that the heart acknowledges what it's holding and refuses to act carelessly, refuses to treat something sacred as ordinary. Distance in this kind of connection doesn't weaken it. Often it reveals it. When feelings are shallow, separation dissolves them effortlessly. But when love is deep and restrained, even silence or physical absence cannot erase it. Instead, the connection persists, sometimes strengthening in the quiet, growing roots in the darkness. You find yourself thinking of them when you least expect it, comparing everyone else to the standard their presence established, feeling a strange loyalty even when there's no formal commitment, no official bond declared. You might try distracting yourself, convincing yourself that life continues, that you're fine, that this will pass. Yet the emotional thread remains taut, unbroken, humming with quiet persistence. That lingering presence signals that this isn't ordinary attachment or casual infatuation. It's love in its rarest, most patient form, unspoken yet undeniable. Unspoken love carries a weight that spoken love rarely bears. Without closure or clarity, it settles quietly in the chest, often unnoticed until a song, a memory, or a moment suddenly brings it rushing to the surface, demanding acknowledgement. This love tests patience because it cannot be rushed, cannot be forced, cannot always be named with precision. It teaches awareness because it demands honesty with yourself. Brutal honesty. Are you afraid of loving, or are you afraid of what love will cost? Are you waiting for certainty, for permission, for courage to emerge from wherever it's hiding? The answers are rarely immediate, but the process of reflection deepens your understanding of your own heart, preparing it for the possibility of genuine expression when timing aligns. The most beautiful yet most painful aspect of this connection is that both people feel it and often act in parallel, each waiting for the other to make the first move, to be brave first. Fear and love coexist in delicate balance, creating a quiet tension that is emotionally rich and profoundly human. Neither is indifferent, neither is careless, neither is fully in control. The hesitation, the careful holding back, is evidence of something rare and precious taking form. Love doesn't always need immediate action, but it does need recognition, awareness of its presence, acknowledgement of its depth, honesty about your own emotions. These are the first steps toward navigating the quiet ache of what might be, what could be, what perhaps already is. In this way, unspoken love is both a test and a gift. It challenges you, teaches you, and ultimately asks one question above all. Will you find the courage to let your heart speak before fear decides for you? This love lingers because it cannot be neatly defined or easily resolved, categorized, or dismissed. It exists in moments that seem insignificant to the outside world, but feel monumental to you. A text left unsent, a message read and reread obsessively, a glance that lasts fractionally too long, a silence that communicates more than words ever could. Every interaction is amplified by mind and heart, magnified beyond proportion, not because the situation itself is extraordinary, but because the emotional stakes are extraordinary. You live in a state of heightened awareness, noticing every shift in tone, every hesitation, every smile or pause, reading between lines for meaning that may or may not exist. This is the weight of unspoken love. It sharpens the senses, magnifies emotion, transforms the ordinary into the extraordinary simply through the lens of feeling. Even when you attempt to move forward, to let go, to release, your heart refuses to surrender this connection. You might meet others, create distractions, fill your days with activity and purpose, yet your thoughts always circle back to them, like a compass finding north. There's a strange constancy to this attachment, an invisible thread binding you across time and space, across silence and distance. It's not possession, it's not obsession, it's reverence for the significance the other holds in your life, for what they represent, for what you've glimpsed in moments of connection. You don't replace them, you cannot. Every encounter with someone else is measured, weighed, compared. Every emotion, every laugh, every smile is held against the silent, unwavering standard set by this unspoken love. It's both humbling and painful because it reveals the depth of your capacity to care, to feel, to hold someone sacred even in absence. What makes this love particularly intense is the tension between fear and longing, between desire and caution. You long for closeness, yet fear the consequences of exposure, of vulnerability. You crave the warmth of honesty, yet hesitate, worried that vulnerability might be met with absence, rejection, abandonment. Every step forward feels like it could either cement the bond or shatter it entirely, irreparably. The mind constantly calculates risk, replaying scenarios endlessly, imagining outcomes, considering every possible angle, every potential consequence. It's not hesitation born of weakness, it's caution born of reverence, of recognizing something rare when you encounter it. The heart has identified something precious, and it's unwilling to gamble recklessly, to treat it casually. It waits, watches, and wonders, hoping for courage to emerge, either in yourself or in them, that will finally allow the feeling to breathe openly, to exist without hiding. Distance and silence, rather than breaking the connection, often serve to deepen it, to clarify it. When you're apart, you notice the ways your life subtly or profoundly shifts around their absence. Moments that would normally pass unnoticed become imbued with longing and reflection, with awareness. You remember small details, replay memories obsessively, imagine conversations that haven't happened, feel the ache of what could have been, what might still be. This distance is not emptiness, it's a space for awareness, for reflection, for recognition of the bond's value, its significance. Love in this form doesn't need constant attention to exist, to persist. Its persistence is proof of its depth, and its quiet presence speaks louder than any words ever could. Unspoken love is heavy because it refuses to be ignored, refuses to be dismissed or rationalized away. It demands honesty, courage, and self-awareness. It asks you to examine not just the feelings themselves, but the barriers you've placed between yourself and their expression, between desire and action. Are you afraid of rejection, of vulnerability, of losing the safety of what already exists, however undefined and unnamed? Are you waiting for perfect timing, for certainty, for some invisible permission to act, to speak, to claim what you feel? The love itself is patient, endlessly patient, but it asks you to confront your own hesitations, to discern whether fear or wisdom guides your restraint, whether you're protecting something precious or merely protecting yourself from the possibility of pain. In doing so, it teaches profound lessons about trust, bravery, and the unspoken power of connection that waits for hearts brave enough to claim it, to honor it, to give it voice. This love thrives in the unseen, in the unnoticed, in the quiet corners of life where no one else is paying attention, where the world's noise doesn't penetrate. It's felt in subtle glances that linger fractionally too long, in a smile that lingers in memory long after the moment passes, in the echo of their laughter long after it fades from the room. It exists in the little rituals, the thoughts you replay privately, the what-ifs that brush past your mind when the world around you moves too fast to notice the pulse of your heart, the rhythm of your longing. There's a sacred patience in this feeling because it cannot be forced, cannot be rushed, cannot be fully captured by language or explanation. It is quiet, yes, but it is alive, pulsating in the spaces between what is said and what remains unsaid, between expression and restraint. When two people share this kind of connection, it creates an invisible choreography, an almost imperceptible dance of emotion and restraint, advance and retreat. Each of you knows the other is there, present, aware, yet neither dares to step fully forward to break the pattern. Every conversation, every interaction is layered with meaning because the stakes are high, because something precious hangs in the balance. There is constant tension between the desire to move closer and the fear of making a mistake, of exposing a heart that could be bruised, rejected, left vulnerable. You think, reflect, and hesitate, not because the feeling is absent, but because it is sacred, because it matters more than anything casual, more than anything temporary. Every heartbeat, every thought, every silence is a reminder of the depth of what is shared, even when it remains unnamed, unspoken. The ache of distance in this kind of love is not emptiness or void. It is awareness, sharp and clear. Being apart allows the mind and heart to stretch, to realize how much presence matters, how much weight a single person can carry in your emotional landscape. You notice the absence in small, everyday ways. A coffee sipped alone, a quiet walk, a moment meant to be shared but left solitary, incomplete. The mind returns to memories, plays with possibilities, imagines futures that may or may not exist, that may never materialize. Yet there is comfort in this ache because it is proof of significance, of meaning. This is not casual infatuation or fleeting attraction. This is love patient enough to wait, enduring enough to exist without constant affirmation, subtle enough to thrive even when unspoken, powerful enough to change the way you perceive yourself and the world around you. Even the smallest moments are magnified, transformed. A message read twice, a fleeting thought, a casual glance. These become symbols, reminders, anchors of what exists between you, what connects you across distance and silence. There is a richness in the unspoken that cannot be replicated by words, by declarations. The heart remembers, the mind lingers, and the soul holds on to the invisible thread that ties two people together, that binds them across time and space. It is both a test and a gift, forcing introspection and self-honesty while simultaneously offering profound intimacy in its quiet constancy, in its patient persistence. You don't need confirmation from the outside world because the proof lies in your own awareness, in the steady persistence of feeling that refuses to vanish. Even in silence, even in absence, even when logic suggests it should. Unspoken love is weighty because it carries no guarantees, no certainties, no promises. There is no closure, no script, no clear path forward mapped out before you. It exists suspended between possibility and hesitation, between courage and fear, between what is and what might be. This tension sharpens awareness and heightens emotional sensitivity to unprecedented levels. Every interaction is measured carefully, every pause considered thoughtfully, every word chosen with care and intention. It is both protective and revealing, teaching that love is not just about feeling, it's about responsibility, awareness, and intentionality, about honoring what matters. You are aware of the fragility, the stakes, the potential for both loss and fulfillment, for heartbreak and joy. You know that acting recklessly could destroy what is sacred, but holding back too long risks letting opportunity slip silently by, risks losing what could have been to fear. Even amidst all of this complexity, There is strange comfort in the constancy of the connection. It doesn't demand your attention constantly. It doesn't require your presence every moment, but it persists quietly, insistently, undeniably. This is a love that doesn't need affirmation to exist, to be real. It proves itself in absence, in longing, in the invisible thread that keeps hearts tethered across distance and time, across silence and separation. You begin to recognize that this kind of bond is rare, precious, singular. It is not casual, it is not fleeting, it is not shallow or superficial. It is deep, patient, quiet, and enduring, built to last, built to wait, built to persist. And while it asks for courage, while it demands bravery, it also offers an unparalleled sense of knowing that what exists between you is authentic, significant, and profoundly human, profoundly real. This love is patient in a way that most people cannot understand, cannot comprehend. It waits in the quiet moments, in the spaces where life moves on without notice, without fanfare. It exists in the pause between conversations, in the briefest exchanges of eye contact, in the subtle understanding that passes without words, without explanation. It is not loud, but it is insistent. It does not demand, but it does not diminish, does not fade. The heart knows what it feels, even if the lips cannot speak it, even if fear keeps words locked away. You notice it in yourself, the way your thoughts drift to them unexpectedly, without invitation. The way you feel a tug toward them when your day is otherwise full, otherwise occupied. The way their presence or absence shapes the emotional rhythm of your life, the cadence of your days. This is a love that cannot be erased by logic or distance, by time or circumstance, because it exists in the quiet corners of the soul, in places logic cannot reach. The beauty of this love is that it teaches depth, patience, awareness. It forces reflection, contemplation. It asks you to understand not just your feelings, but the feelings of the other, and the delicate interplay between desire and fear, between wanting and waiting. You become attuned to nuance, aware of emotional undertones, sensitive to the rhythms of connection, to the ebb and flow of feeling. Every smile, every pause, every word that passes between you is loaded with meaning because you recognize the stakes, because you understand what could be lost. There is no reckless abandon here, no carelessness. There is careful attention, mindful presence. The heart is careful because it knows what is at risk, a rare, precious connection that cannot easily be replaced, that may never come again. In its restraint, the love becomes stronger, more refined, more enduring, forged in patience and tested by time. This love is also defined by longing, the quiet, almost imperceptible ache of wanting without pressing, of desiring without demanding. It is the awareness that what exists is precious, fragile, and worth protecting, worth handling with care. You feel it in the spaces between interactions, in the pause in the day, when a thought of them surfaces unbidden. The sudden memory that brings a sharp pang of what if, of possibility. The way music, places, or even the scent of something familiar can evoke their presence, can bring them rushing back. It is not pain born of regret. It is intensity born of significance, of meaning, of something that matters more than words can express. This longing sharpens awareness, heightens emotional intelligence, cultivates patience and understanding. It teaches that love is not merely action, not merely words or gestures. It is awareness, vigilance, and respect for the bond that exists even without declaration, even without formal acknowledgement. There is a paradox here, beautiful and painful in equal measure. The closer you feel, the more you hesitate. The more the heart aches, the more carefully you tread, the more cautiously you move. Each step toward expression is measured against the possibility of loss, of rejection, of everything changing. Every word is considered, every gesture analyzed, every moment weighed for meaning and consequence. Fear of vulnerability does not diminish love. It deepens it, transforms it. It transforms intensity into mindfulness, desire into reverence, impulse into intentionality. You learn to navigate not just what you feel, but the consequences of acting on it, the ripples it might create, the changes it might bring. In this careful negotiation between courage and restraint, the love becomes almost sacred, almost holy. You recognize that its power is not in immediacy, not in instant gratification, but in persistence, subtlety, and depth, in its ability to endure, to wait, to survive, even when unexpressed. Even the silence is part of the language of this connection, part of its vocabulary. Words are not always necessary because the presence of feeling is already evident, already palpable, already understood. Sometimes the quiet speaks louder than any conversation ever could, communicates more than any declaration. Each glance, each pause, each unspoken sentiment builds a bridge of understanding that is invisible to the outside world, but profoundly real to those involved, to those who share it. It is in this silence that you sense the weight, the loyalty, the constancy, and the patience that define your bond, that make it what it is. Unspoken love thrives in this liminal space between expression and restraint, creating depth, intimacy, and a kind of emotional richness that is rare and irreplaceable, that most people never experience, never encounter. If you found value in this message, take a moment to show your support for Echo of Souls. Hit that like button. It's a simple gesture, but it helps us understand that this content resonates with you, that it matters. Share this video with someone who might need to hear it today. Someone navigating the quiet, intense, unspoken feelings of love and connection. Someone standing at the threshold of their own courage. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel and activate notifications so you never miss a moment of insight that can shift the way you see yourself, your relationships, and the world around you, the world within you. Every view, every share, every subscription helps us continue creating content that inspires, guides, and reminds you. You are never alone in what you feel, in what you experience, in what you carry quietly in your heart.